They are upon us! To the river, quickly! Grab the supplies! Move! Move! Run! The village is lost! We will rebuild!
Look how fast they grow!
Just like our settlement.
The stew is almost ready.
It smells wonderful tonight. Where are the children?
They are playing near the river.
From this soil, we rise. You are the shield of our village, the first.
From this moment, we forge our destiny. Discipline is our strength.
Stand ready! Burn it down! Get the livestock! They are too many! We must protect the settlement. Roma Invicta!
The new walls should extend to the river, ensuring protection for the western fields.
Agreed. The recent harvest allows us to hire more crews immediately.
By the eternal river, by the blood of our fathers, we swear allegiance to Rome! Victorious by the gods, we march as one. To battle! For victory! They approach. Prepare for battle. For Etruria. Senatus Puctulusque Romanus. If you choose as resistance, then when the sun sets tomorrow... You call yourselves bringers of law and order, but you march upon our lands with an army at your back. But if you choose resistance, then when the sun sets tomorrow, you will see the Roman eagle flying above these walls. Legions of Rome, the time for words has ended. Advance and claim these walls in the name of Rome. Bitte! Tende! Bitte! Lentur! Spatik! Ad arma! Roma! Victoria! Glory to Veii! Charge! Charge! Steady men! Push forward! Kill them all! The Etruscans are broken! To Rome! To Rome! To victory! We fought as warriors. You stood for your city. Now the sword is lowered and Rome chooses order. You stood for your city. Now the sword is lowered and Rome...
Beneath a sky stained red by the Italian sunset, the smoke of battle still lingered over the fields where Rome had just defeated the Etruscan forces. The clash of metal had faded, yet its echoes seemed to vibrate in the air. The legions stood in perfect formation, shields upright, helmets reflecting the last light of day. Upon the walls that once symbolized Etruscan pride, the Roman eagle banner had been raised, snapping in the wind like a silent declaration. A new era had begun. The fallen city lay in heavy silence. Citizens stood behind wooden doors, peering through narrow cracks with a mixture of fear and curiosity at the disciplined army marching through their streets. There was no reckless slaughter, for the Roman commanders understood that lasting rule required order, not destruction. The squares were secured, granaries sealed, and guards stationed at the gates and armories. Yet not everyone accepted the change. Under the cover of darkness on the first night after the victory, a group of Etruscan warriors loyal to their former leaders slipped out of the city. They carried short swords, spears, and resentment that had not yet cooled. In the depths of the forest, they swore never to kneel before Roman law. News of their resistance quickly reached the magistrates. Meetings were held beneath torchlight in the great stone hall. The commanders understood clearly: if the seeds of rebellion were allowed to grow, today's victory would become tomorrow's instability. Thus, search and capture units were organized. Divided into smaller detachments, they advanced into the dense forest surrounding the city.
Not rebellion yet, but intention.
Governor.
Report.
There was a gathering beneath the old quarter.
How many?
Small. Organized. Not yet open defiance.
The woods of Etruria were not easily conquered.
Patience can be misread.
Rugged terrain,
So can kindness.
tangled paths, and morning fog obscured visibility. But the strength of Rome lay not only in force, but in discipline and strategy. Step by step, they established a tightening perimeter, cutting off supply lines and sealing exits to the valleys. After several days of pursuit, the rebels were cornered in a narrow mountain pass. The final clash was brief but fierce. Battle cries echoed against the stone cliffs. When the dust settled, the insurgents had been subdued. Their weapons were stripped away, their hands bound with coarse rope, and they were marched back to the city under heavy guard. The trial was set in the central square. The citizens were summoned to witness it, for Rome wanted all to understand that law stood above all. The captured men were lined up before the stone steps where the king and officials sat. No forest shielded them now. They faced their fate beneath the eyes of the entire city. The herald proclaimed their charges aloud: defiance of established authority, incitement of rebellion, threats to public security. The proceedings were solemn. Some were sentenced to exile, others to forced labor to repay their crimes. The punishments were meant not only to discipline, but to deter. When it was done, the king stepped forward. Raising his right hand, his voice carried across the square. He declared that from this day on, the city officially stood under Roman control. Roman law would govern it, taxes would be instituted, and garrisons would remain to preserve order. Those who were loyal would receive protection and peace.
No.
Those who rebelled would face justice.
That was their mistake.
The rebel group has been captured. All of them? Yes, Your Majesty. They are imprisoned within the lower fortress. Bring them before the people. The rebels are captured. Make an example. Public crucifixion. Rebellion does not die with blood. It dies with fear. Prepare the...
At that moment, bronze trumpets sounded long and clear. The banner of victory was lifted high upon the city walls. Soldiers struck sword against shield in a thundrous rhythm. The citizens, after days of fear, began to exhale as they realized the city had not been destroyed, but reorganized. That evening, torches were lit throughout the square. A celebration of victory was held. Wine filled great jugs.
Thank you. It
Bread
smells
and
wonderful.
roasted meat were shared among soldiers and townspeople alike. Priests offered sacrifices to the gods in gratitude for triumph and in hope of lasting peace. Music, conversation, and even laughter gradually replaced the earlier tension. Yet beneath the flickering torchlight, everyone understood that history never stands still. This city was but another step in Rome's expanding path of power. From the stone roads that would soon be laid to the laws that would take root, a new order was forming. And as so often happens, the story
And
of
you
this
are braver
battle would be
without the
told
whole
from
village
the victor's
watching.
perspective. The Roman eagle had spread its wings over
The border
Troy,
tribes are restless
and
again.
its
They
shadow
test our
would stretch
response.
across
Not a full
generations to
rebellion.
come.
Not yet.
Then we strike first.
You speak of striking first.
We discuss possibilities, sire.
Rome does not move from fear. Rome
After
moves
subduing
from
the
certainty.
Etruscans and extending control over neighboring lands, Rome entered a period that seemed, at first, peaceful. The fields around the city were cultivated once more. Herds of livestock grew larger, and families began to believe that a new and stable order had finally been secured. But that peace did not last. To the north of Rome's frontier, beyond dense forests and mist-covered hills, lived a small but daring tribe. They lacked the strength to confront Rome in open battle, yet they knew the harsh terrain well and survived through swift, calculated raids. When winter descended and snow covered the plains, turning roads into sheets of ice, they made their move.
This is
Under
mobilization.
the cover of
We
night,
must
they
report
crossed
immediately.
the border. They drove away livestock,
My
burned
king,
small grain stores,
no random raid.
and even abducted
The
women
Samnites,
from
Your
the frontier
Majesty.
settlements.
A full encampment
Cries
beyond the
echoed
mountain
through
pass.
the frozen darkness
Show them.
as alarm bells rang.
The encampment lies
Terrified
here, beyond the
farmers
mountain
fled
pass.
toward the city,
Watchfires at 3 points.
pleading for
Supply
protection.
wagons positioned to the
The
rear.
news quickly reached the council.
The Samnite tribe has crossed
was
our
no
frontier.
ordinary
They dare to test the
Rome
strength of
failed to
Rome.
respond
Soldiers!
decisively. Other tribes would see it as weakness. An army was assembled in the heart of winter, an uncommon and dangerous decision. Warriors wrapped themselves in thick cloaks, shields reinforced with leather, spears and swords carefully inspected. They understood the risk. Fighting in snow could be as deadly as facing the enemy itself. Before dawn, the column marched north. Snow reached their ankles, sometimes their knees. Supply wagons became trapped in frozen mud. Horses slipped on icy slopes. The biting wind made even holding a shield a painful task.
They know these woods better than we do.
Many soldiers were exhausted before they even saw the enemy. The commanders knew this was exactly what the northern tribe intended, to let nature weaken Rome before striking the final blow.
We
As
march
the
at
army
first
entered
light.
a narrow valley flanked by barren, snow-covered hills,
rations.
an unnatural silence settled over the land.
Tomorrow we march
No
again.
birds, no fresh tracks in the snow. Then suddenly, a war horn sounded from above. Massive rocks tumbled down, shattering formations. Arrows rained from both
Tomorrow,
sides of the hills.
they won't.
The Roman force had walked into a carefully prepared ambush. Some of the front ranks faltered in panic.
torches.
Snow mixed with earth
Horses!
and blood. Shields were raised against the storm of arrows, but the tight terrain made maneuvering difficult. In that moment, Roman discipline was tested. The commander ordered the men to
Form a
lock
line.
into tight formation.
Anchor them. Grab it.
Shields overlapping
Pull.
for protection.
Remove his armor.
Veteran soldiers
moving.
held the outer edges,
Fire.
guarding the younger recruits.
river.
They did not rush blindly uphill. Instead, they advanced step by step,
Shields up.
maintaining
Close ranks.
cohesion.
Stay together.
When the hail
Think
of
yourself.
arrows began
Shelter.
to thin,
Move.
Rome
You
struck
survived the
back.
river. You
A
survived
smaller
this.
unit
He's
was
gone.
ordered to
Keep
circle
moving.
the
Stay
right
awake.
hillside,
I can't feel my
where the
hands.
snow was
Rotate.
less dense.
Stand now.
They climbed in
next.
silence,
Not while I
using
breathe.
the very terrain the enemy believed to be their advantage. Fierce, close combat erupted on the slippery slope. Many fell not only from wounds but from losing their footing. Yet the difference lay in organization and discipline. The northern tribes fought bravely but lacked coordination. When one flank was forced back, their morale began to crumble. The roar of Roman battle cries echoed through the valley, overpowering the winter wind. At last, the enemy line broke. Some fled into the forest. Others were captured. The stolen livestock
I thought we would
was
never reach
recovered.
this height.
The abducted women were rescued and brought home. When the army returned to the city, they carried more than spoils of war. They carried a message. Rome would not tolerate defiance, not even in the harshest of conditions. This was not the largest
Now they feel the height.
Far more important that Rome's strength lay not only in the sword, but in discipline, endurance,
Break that line!
and the will to stand firm against both nature and enemy alike. After that winter, the surrounding tribes understood a powerful truth. Rome's borders could be tested, but they would never be taken lightly.
Ready your shields! Lock together! Thrust! Shields up! Form the testudo! Forward march! Count the... Legionaries! Forward march! Forward!
Steady now. We must finish this row by noon.
Wait for me, I'll beat you to the olive tree.
The land of Latium, located among low hills and dense oak forests in the heart of the Italian peninsula, once had no great stone cities and no powerful
50
armies.
amphorae of wine,
Instead,
ready for transport.
it was the homeland of many small tribes collectively known as the Latin tribes. These tribes lived scattered across the hills, building their homes from wood and clay. Around them stretched fields of wheat, vineyards, and grazing livestock. Their lives were simple, but they were far from weak. The Latin people were farmers, hunters, and warriors, always ready to defend their lands. From around 1000 BC to 800 BC, the Latin tribes gradually began forming stronger and more organized villages. They built their settlements on hilltops, making it easier to defend themselves against enemies. Each tribe had its own leader, usually the strongest and most respected member of the community. These tribes did not always live in peace with one another. Disputes over land, water sources, or livestock were common. Yet despite their rivalries, they shared many traditions.
Count these again.
They practiced
We must ensure
similar
every
religious
ounce is accounted
rituals
for.
and worshipped
Yes, Consul.
the ancient
It will
gods
be
of
done.
Latium. One of their most sacred centers was the Alban Hills. Here, the Latin tribes often gathered for large religious
Shields
festivals
up!
to honor their
Align the
gods
spears!
and strengthen
Move out!
alliances between their communities. Over time, these gatherings slowly formed
Forward
a loose
now!
alliance known as
Maintain
the
formation!
Around 800 BC
Legion,
to 700
attention!
BC, the
Forward
region
march!
of Latium began to change.
Move out!
Trade routes from the north and
Hold the
south of the
line!
Italian peninsula brought metal, weapons, and new ideas.
Centuria!
The Latin tribes learned
Forward!
to craft better
Keep
weapons,
your ranks!
organize their warriors more effectively, and build larger settlements. Among the hills of Latium, there was one particularly strategic place along the Tiber River. It became an important crossing point for trade between northern and southern Italy. On the hills surrounding this river, several Latin communities began to grow and prosper.
Loose! Attack!
According to ancient Roman legend, the city of Rome was founded in 753
Form
BC
the
by
tortoise!
the legendary
Lock shields
twin
tight!
brothers
Hold
Romulus
the
and
line
Remus.
and advance!
While the legend may have been shaped by generations
Charge!
of storytelling, archaeologists agree that around this time many small Latin villages
Hold the
and surrounding
line!
hills began merging together,
Charge!
forming a larger the early foundation of Rome. During
Break
the
their
2nd
lines!
and 6th
Show no
centuries
mercy!
BC,
Push them back!
Latin people faced powerful
Arch!
The north lived in a wealthy civilization.
Run! Retreat down the hill! Forward! Push them back!
Possessed advanced engineering and construction skills. To the east were fierce mountain tribes that frequently raided the fertile plains. In this dangerous area, the Latin tribes slowly realized that unity was essential. From around 600 BC to 500 BC, the Latin alliance became increasingly powerful. The tribes supported one another in war, shared religious traditions, and defended the lands of Latium against outside threats. But at the same time, a new power was rising in the region, Rome. At first, Rome was simply one Latin community among many. However, thanks to its strategic position on the Tiber River and its increasingly effective political and military organization, the city gradually grew stronger than its neighbors. In 509 BC, the Romans overthrew their last king and established a republic.
Yes, sir.
This event did not only transform the history of Rome, it also marked the beginning of a new era for the entire region of Latium. From that point forward, Rome began its path of
Legionaries!
slowly became
Forward
rivals
march!
or were absorbed into Rome. After
Forward!
wars,
Maintain the pace! Watch your footing! Keep moving forward!
Part of a much larger state. Their
Please,
language,
take some
Latin,
fresh bread
would
and water.
eventually spread across Europe for
Whatever
centuries
lies
to
beyond
come.
those mountains
From
means us
these
harm,
small
General.
Latin
Then we
villages,
shall secure the
one
path
of the
before
greatest
nightfall. Please
civilizations
eat.
in human
There is enough
history
for
was
everyone.
born.
Thank
And the
you, we
story of
appreciate your
Rome
kindness.
was only just beginning.
We are grateful for your hospitality, Elder.
The pleasure is ours. Eat well.
It feels good to rest for a moment.
Yes, the fire is warm tonight.
Century! Form the wall! Hold the line! Forward march!
In the final years of ancient Rome, the city was growing stronger with each passing year. The hills surrounding the Tiber River were no longer home to scattered tribes living in small villages. Rome had become a powerful city-state, with a disciplined army and an ambition to expand its power across the region. At the head of this rising city stood the seventh and final king of Rome, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus. He was known as Tarquinius the Proud, but behind that title was a ruler who governed through fear, ambition, and absolute power. Rome expands its power. During the reign of Tarquinius Superbus, Rome continued expanding throughout the region of Latium. The surrounding Latin tribes had often resisted Roman influence, refusing to submit to Rome's growing authority. Tarquinius was not a king known for mercy. He led military campaigns against rebellious tribes, defeating them one by one. Some villages were conquered by force, while others were forced into alliances with Rome. Many defeated leaders had no choice but to swear loyalty to the Roman king. After each victory, Rome grew richer. War spoils, livestock, gold, and enslaved prisoners were brought back to the city. These victories strengthened the king's position and filled Rome's treasury. But as his power grew, so did his arrogance.
I am not.
A king who ruled alone. Unlike many kings before him, Tarquinius Superbus showed little respect for the advice of the Roman Senate. He ruled alone, making decisions without consulting Rome's noble families. The king ordered massive construction projects to demonstrate Rome's strength and greatness. Thousands of citizens were forced to work long and exhausting days building temples, walls, and enormous public works. One of the most famous projects from this era was the great underground drainage system known as the Cloaca Maxima. It was an engineering marvel, but these impressive structures were built with the sweat, suffering, and growing resentment of the Roman people. Rome was becoming wealthier and more powerful, but also more unstable, the arrogant prince. While the king ruled with authority, his sons lived in luxury and privilege. The most infamous among them was Sextus Tarquinius. Sextus Tarquinius was a prince who believed his royal status placed him above all laws and customs. One night, while Roman soldiers were camped outside the city during a military campaign, a group of officers began arguing about which of their wives was the most virtuous. To settle the debate, they decided to ride back to Rome in secret and see for themselves. When they visited several noble homes, they found many women enjoying feasts and entertainment. But when they arrived at the home of Lucretia, they saw something different. Lucretia was sitting quietly with her servants, weaving cloth late into the night. Her discipline, modesty, and virtue impressed everyone present. But for Sextus Tarquinius, it awakened a dangerous desire, the crime that changed history. A few days later, Sextus secretly returned to Lucretia's home. Trusting his royal status, she welcomed him as an honored guest. But during the night, Sextus threatened and forced himself upon her. It was not only a personal crime. In Roman society, honor and family reputation were sacred. This act was seen as a deep insult to the dignity of an entire Roman household. After the incident, Lucretia sent messengers to summon her husband and father. When they arrived, she told them everything. Shock and anger filled the room. The honor of a respected Roman family had been violated by the son of the king himself. The oath that ended the monarchy. Among those present that day was a Roman nobleman named Lucius Iunius Brutus. Brutus had long been considered quiet and cautious, but that moment changed everything. He drew his sword and raised it before the gathered men. Brutus swore an oath that Rome would never again be ruled by a king. News of Sextus Tarquinius's crimes spread rapidly throughout the city. The Roman people, already angered by years of harsh rule under Tarquinius Superbus, erupted in outrage. Soon, rebellion began to grow. The king is driven out. When Tarquinius Superbus attempted to return to Rome, he found the city gates closed against him. The people refused to allow their king back into the city. He and his entire family were exiled from Rome. After generations of royal rule, the Tarquin dynasty had come to an end. The birth of a new government. In 509 BC, the people of Rome made a historic decision. They abolished the monarchy forever. Instead of a king, Rome would be governed by elected leaders who would serve for limited terms. This new system of government became known as the Roman Republic. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in Roman history, a chapter in which Rome would continue to fight, expand, and eventually grow into one of the greatest civilizations the world had ever seen. But it all began with one crime, one oath, and the fall of a king.